Welcome back everybody to Zlatan's Fight Picks. Today we'll be going over the fights for Noche UFC, Grasso versus Shevchenko 2, this Saturday, September 16th. So it's going to be in Vegas, so let's start. We're going to start with the first fight and move up to our main event. It's kind of a weird card. There's a lot of really big favorites. And I think there's a lot of people here that are set up to win. It is Mexican Independence Day. Well, what's the day they celebrate that they started or declared their independence rather than actual Independence Day, which was 11 years after that. Nevertheless, it's in Vegas, and everybody who I see online, they're like, oh, we're going to bet on the Mexican fighters because the Mexican crowd's going to go crazy in Mexico. They don't know that it's in Vegas. But what they also don't know is, well, Vegas used to be Mexico anyway. till the 1800s, and then it became the US. So a lot of Mexicans there, no matter what. How you cut it, might be a part of Mexico. Maybe they'll be celebrating Mexico Independence Day when Vegas is a part of Mexico. I'm just kidding. Just joking. Little historical fact. Sorry, I'm a history buff, so things like that interest me. So, nevertheless, it's in Vegas. It is the declaration of the Mexican independence, September 16th. So, I'd imagine, there's a lot of Mexicans. It's close to the border. A lot of Mexicans. I think there's like 38 million Mexicans of Mexican descent living in the U.S. I mean that's a lot considering there's only 38 million people in Canada. So literally the entire population of Canada, they've got that many people of Mexican descent in the U.S. So it's a fairly substantial community. So they'll be celebrating it in Vegas, and they've got all the Mexican fighters there. So there'll be some huge favorites. Partly because they're just fighting bad competition, and partly because, I don't know, maybe all the Mexicans are betting on the Mexican fighters, of course. And we're expecting them to perform extra well. But nevertheless, I don't think I've got an entirely Mexican card, even though I could do that, but there's a couple of really iffy plays on that. So anyways, let's get started. First fight of the night, Alex Reyes versus Charlie Campbell. Alex Reyes, brother of Dominic Reyes, the light heavyweight contender. Alex Reyes, 5'11", 73-inch reach, 13 wins, 3 losses, 36 years old. Obviously the older brother. Charlie Campbell, 6 feet tall, 72.5-inch reach, 7 wins, 2 losses, 28 years old. From what I was understanding is Charlie Campbell started his career in MMA when Reyes retired 6 years ago. And he didn't retire, actually. From what I'm understanding is he stopped fighting because of some medical problems. He did have one fight in the UFC against Platinum Perry, and he got knocked out in that fight. I mean, he had some fairly good outings in the regional scenes. It seemed like he was doing well there, but I mean, the level of competition was iffy. And then when he started to come back to the UFC, he had the one fight and then he disappeared for 6 years. Now, like whenever you see that, I mean, why are you coming back? You're 36 years old. This is the time where we're looking at fighters going, yeah, you're 36. You're kind of on the decline. If you haven't started it, you're starting it. So he's back, and it seems a little odd. I mean, they've got a new guy, Charlie Campbell. Was in, apparently, I think a champion in another league, another event, another group. But so they're bringing him the competition that he could, compete against. Guys who are just coming into the UFC who are maybe at the lower end of the scale for quality in the UFC. That's what I'm thinking. Although we saw Charlie Campbell in the Dana White Contender Series, and he knocked down Duncan a couple times, and Duncan got up and wobbly and ended up knocking out Campbell with a really good right hand. It was a really good fight, and it looked like Campbell was going to win that fight. He lost the fight, and then he ended up not getting the contract. But the guy he fought, Duncan, did really well after the fact. So the level of competition was good. And he did okay, but I mean, he ended up getting knocked out, but he was doing okay until then. So, I mean, then you got Dominic Reyes, who's just popping back in at 36. And, I mean, I don't know. He's a huge underdog. You can't even bet Charlie Campbell on this. He's a minus 480 favorite. You know, I mean, looking back at tape, Reyes, you know, had some decent striking. He's good on the ground. But I mean, that's 6 years ago. Who knows? I mean, the whole game leveled up 6 times from 6 years ago. So the people he was beating then, I mean, they're nowhere close to the minimum level now in the UFC. And we're going to see, because Charlie Campbell is probably at that minimum level to enter into the UFC. He's a huge favorite. Hard to bet on him. We don't know what's going to happen, but I mean, realistically, Campbell should easily win this fight. There's nowhere that Reyes is going to come in after 6 years and beat anybody who's even entering the UFC. So pick is going to be Campbell. He's well-rounded. He's got really good striking. He's okay on the ground. He's got good defense. He's a mixed martial artist through and through, but he's mainly a striker. He's really got powerful hands. And the odd thing is, the last time Reyes was in the UFC was September 16th, 2017, right? 6 years ago that he got knocked out to the day. So, I mean, what is this? So so is he going to knock someone out that day for retribution, or is he going to get knocked out again coming back to the UFC? I'm leaning towards the latter. So Charlie Campbell's going to be the pick. You know, there's not much to really look at in this fight. I mean, 6 years layaway. I mean, how are you going to really evaluate it, right? Nevertheless, he wasn't that great to begin with. He was okay. But yeah, I think the game has passed him. But 36 years old, good for him. He's on a big card. He's going to get a paycheck. You know, everything else that goes along with it, right? Nevertheless, moving on. Josephine Knudsen versus Marnik Mann. Josephine Knudsen, 5'3", 60-inch reach, 6 wins, 0 losses, 0 size, 27 years old. Marnik Mann, 5 feet tall. I don't think she's 5 feet tall. I think she's 4'11". 64-inch reach. And look at the reach. 6 wins, 1 loss, 30 years old. The age is not a factor. You know, ability, here's the thing. Marnik Mann, really tough girl. She's always at a size differential. So she's got actually long arms for her size, 64 inches. I mean, considering the other girl's 3 inches taller, got 4 inches less in reach. But the other girl, Knudsen, fast hands, Muay Thai fighter, very strong, very scrappy, very durable, has learned a pretty good ground game, can take people down, can get back up. I saw her in a few fights. She's really talented, and she works hard, and she's not a quitter. She's a grinder. Marnik Mann, same thing, grinder, but I think the skill level is a lot less than Knudsen, especially on the striking. She is going to be so outmatched on the feet. The only path to victory for Marnik Mann is to take Knudsen down, and from what I saw, Knudsen has decent takedown defense and a get-up game. There's no way I see Marnik Mann winning this fight, you know, apart from some fluke. And the odds reflect it. I mean, Josephine Knudsen is minus 700. And it's not because Knudsen's so good. It's just that we've already seen Marnik Mann in the Dana White Contender Series. So we already know what we're going to get. And yeah, there's no way. This is not even close. You can't even bet it. But, I mean, I've got it on my list. You could put it in a parlay, but I mean, there's absolutely almost no benefit at this rate. So yeah, Josephine Knudsen, first fight in the UFC, minus 700 favorite. Yeah, makes sense of that, right? Anyway, and neither one of them are Mexican, by the way. So So there you go. So there's no favorites, right? No favoritism there. So anyways, Knut's is going to be the pick. It's going to be high confidence. Moving on, Tracy Cortez versus Jasmine Jasdavicius. Vicius. Tracy Cortez, 5'5", 65.5-inch reach, 10 wins, 1 loss, 29 years old. Jasmine Jasdavicius, 5'7", 68-inch reach, or 67, depending where you read it. I'm leaning towards 68. Nine wins, 2 losses, 34 years old. She's in her prime right now. She's actually improved. Jasdavicius is. She's in her prime. I've never seen her actually look so good. There was a time where I used to always, the moment she used to fight a big opponent, I would always bet against her. I think I've actually bet against her quite often. I don't think she's that talented. She's big, she's strong, but I gotta admit though, she's really improved her wrestling. She's really, and even more than that, actually, she's really improved her striking. And she is a dog. Like she'll go in there, she'll fight, and she fights hard, and she doesn't quit. So she's really got the dog in her. But the thing is her striking looked phenomenal in the last fight or two. So she's hugely improved that, and that's where she was weak. She kind of kept everybody at the end of her jab and at the end of her strikes, and she was really tall, usually taller than most people, so she was a little awkward. But she's kind of gotten over that. Now she's a lot cleaner in her striking, and she's hard to take down. Now, then you got Tracy Cortez, who hasn't fought in a year and 4 months. Now, Tracy Cortez, really good wrestler. She's been out of the scene for a while. She's been doing her own thing. I think she went through a bad breakup. One of the reasons, I think there was a couple fights that were booked. One of the reasons why one of the fights that she canceled was, mental health reasons, and not to criticize her for that, but in this game, you've got to be mentally very strong. And when you refer to someone who's got the dog in them, you're not talking about them physically. You're talking about it mentally, where they just will not quit and they'll keep coming after you. And that's the thing, is if you're not of that mindset fighting Jasdavicius, it's going to be a tough go. But Tracy Cortez apparently has been working on her striking. She has okay striking. I don't know if it's better. She might be as good as Jasdavicius in the striking. Jasdavicius has a reach advantage. She's usually, the bigger girl in there and the heavier girl, and she really knows how to use it. She uses that to her advantage. Now, here's the thing. Tracy Cortez is a really good wrestler. In all the fights I've seen her, she's not only a good wrestler, that even if she gets taken down, she's got great jiu-jitsu where she can reverse the position or get back up. And she's really good at it. I think that she's a much better wrestler than Jasdavicius. She's going to be smaller. She might be susceptible to getting hit up on the feet depending on how much Cortez has improved. But anywhere it goes on the ground, Cortez is going to have the advantage. And I think in all the fights, whoever, Jasdavicius in particular, if she was taken down, she loses the fight. Put that on hold. If she takes people down, she wins the fight. So this is not going to be about striking. This is going to be about who's going to be able to take down who. And I think Cortez is going to be the better wrestler. If Cortez can take Jasdavicius down in the first round, the fight's going to be over. As in, it's not over. She's going to put her away. As in, Cortez is heavy on top, good control. If she can take Jasdavicius down, Jasdavicius can't stop her, Cortez is going to win this fight. That's plain and simple. It's going to come right down to that. It's got nothing to do with the striking. It will have to do something with the striking, because if Cortez can't take her down, then Jasdavicius might have just the sheer size advantage. But it also depends if Cortez has been working on her striking. It could be still relatively close, but nevertheless, she's going to be the bigger girl. But I'm going to lean towards the Mexican fighter. And I think in this case, I guess in Reyes's case, Reyes, I wasn't leaning towards the Mexican fighter, but But in this case, if it's going to be that close, and if it's going to come down to a decision, I'm going to lean towards the Mexican fighter. Even though technically they're not in Mexico, they are in Vegas. So you think it's not like the Mexican judges. Oh yeah, we're leaning towards the Mexican fighter. Even though and most of the people down there might be Mexican anyway. But nevertheless, I think Cortez is coming back I'm the only concern I have is her mental game, not necessarily her physical game. So if she comes in mentally strong and prepared for a war with Jasdovikius, because that's what Jasdovikius is going to do. The Canadian girl's pretty tough, big. You know, people are leaning. You know, she's only the slight favorite in this case. I'm going to pick Cortez. I'm expecting her to be able to take Jasdovikius down, and I think that's what's going to do it. Is her top control is going to win this for her. A lot of people compare Cortez to Amanda Maverick. Um, and you know what? I got to admit, I picked Maverick, and Jasdovikius just absolutely destroyed her. But Maverick's really short. She's not doesn't have crisp striking. She doesn't have even a great takedown game. She's got more trips. She's just not a really good wrestler, even though she's a ground person. I didn't never think that she was that good of a wrestler, that good of a ground game. Once she reaches a certain level of ability for her opponent, she has a hard time with them. And I think Cortez is a level up from that. So leave it at that. Cortez is going to be the pick. It's going to be a close fight. Not super confident, but that's the way I'm going to pick. Next fight, Edgar Cherez versus Daniel Lacerda. Edgar Cherez, 5'7", 71-inch reach, 10 wins, 5 losses, 27 years old. Daniel Lacerda, 5'6", 70-inch reach, 11 wins, 5 losses, 27 years old. Okay, Cherez looked great against Tatsumo Taira. Last fight, I mean, really, he ended up on the feet. He hit Taira a few good times, and Taira took him down, and he had a couple of guillotines that he tried on Taira, and the one at the end, he almost got it, where it was really tight and was the end of the fight. So he did really well. He lost the fight clearly, but he did really well, much better than everyone expected. And Taira is a highly touted prospect. So I think there's a lot of recency bias in this. So Cherez is good. He is talented. He is tough. Yes, all that. Daniel Lacerda, he's the toughest guy in the first round. He's the hardest worker in the first round. He only wins or loses in the first round, and he's lost his last 4 fights. I have not picked him yet. I've always picked against him because he's super explosive, but once he gets past the first round, he's, gassed out. He's given it all. He's blew his load kind of thing, right? So he's done. But here's the thing. How good is Cherez? He is pretty good. He is a newcomer. He is entry level to this game. Lacerda almost knocked down a couple of guys that are, known to be good, like Vergara, Altamirano, especially Vergara. I mean, the last fight with Vergara, I picked Vergara, and Lacerda almost knocked him down. And the only reason Lacerda should have won that fight. The only reason he didn't win the fight is Vergara got up, half unconscious, just started running around the ring. I think he did 2 laps around the ring, literally hands up, full motion, sprinting, back turn to Lacerda while Lacerda's chasing him. And then he got him again, and then he was like side to side, running away along the side. I don't even know why the ref even let him get away with it. Is that even legal, I guess, if you just run away from somebody? There was another girl named Chandler who did that against Dumont. And she literally ran across the ring, and Dumont actually caught up to her and then finished her, and everyone criticized her, but Chandler lost. But what's his name, Vergara did it even worse and did it more than one time in that round, and nobody criticized him after he won. So I guess if you win and you do that, you're okay. Nevertheless, Lacerda could have won that fight if Vergara didn't start running. It was the funniest thing. It was so funny. It's just, man, I've never seen anyone run around the ring, like literally away from somebody, and Lacerda couldn't catch up to him to finish the job. Nevertheless, Lacerda didn't win, didn't finish knocking him out. Vergara survived, and he ended up getting Lacerda out in the second round. Lacerda was gassed. This is a close fight. This is my least confident pick, but I'm picking Lacerda. I don't know why. Fifth time is a charm. He's lost 4. in a row. The UFC is keeping this guy because he's so exciting and fun to watch. I know I want to watch this fight. It'll be great. Um, I'm hoping that he ends up finishing it. But Cherez is tough, so it's going to be hard to get him out. But nevertheless, nothing's impossible. Lassette is going to be the pick. He's my underdog. Low confidence. I mean, I have him at the end of the parlays where you can have him or pick or switch your pick, but it's going to be super close. Lassette is going to be the pick. He does have a shot. It'll be in the first round. Moving on, Roman Kopylov, 6 feet tall, 75-inch reach, 11 wins, 2 losses, 32 years old. Josh Frem, 6'4", 76-inch reach, 11 wins, 4 losses, 29 years old. Roman Kopylov, really like the guy. You know what? His hair and stuff and the way he looks, he kind of reminds me of my son. So I kind of always have a bias towards this guy, right? There's just certain features about him that remind me of him. Some that I'm always like, oh, Roman Kopylov, But nevertheless, he is good. He came in not having a wrestling game. He's really built that up. Has a wrestling game more for defense than anything else. But he can wrestle now. He's hard to take down, and that was his Achilles heel. And he's always been a great striker. I mean, he couldn't show it because he was always being taken down. And his first couple of fights, he didn't look good. But he improved that. Now he's looking like a regular killer. Josh Frem came in, 6'4", really tall, really lanky. He's got a lot of physical attributes. He's talented. He's a good mixed martial artist. He's not a bad striker. He's good on the ground. He's fairly nimble on the ground as well. I just didn't like his outing last time against, what's his name? I can't remember. It was a real low-level fighter, and he barely won. I had money on Fremd, and I was sweating, and he barely won that fight. I don't think I've forgiven him for that. I think Fremd will give him a little bit of problems just because of the height, just harder to reach. But in the end, I think Roman Kopylov will get to him, and I think he's going to win this fight. Fairly high degree of confidence. Roman Kopylov, I think he's going to knock out Fremd. I mean, if it goes to a decision, it'll be a beatdown, I think. I don't think Fremd can take Kopylov down. I think he's got a good enough defense. And from what I saw last fight, I mean, I don't know what happened. Fremd looked terrible. And he looked a lot worse than I've seen him before. I was actually kind of high on this guy for a little while, but he looked absolutely terrible last fight. And I can't remember, what was his name? Who did he fight? I can't remember. Anyways, it's a guy who kind of loses to everybody, but he almost beat Fremd. Nevertheless, Roman Kopylov, high degree of confidence, going to be the pick. Next fight, feature prelim, Lupo Godinez versus Elise Reed, 5'2". Lupo Godinez, 5'2", 61-inch reach, 10 wins, 3 losses, 30 years old. Elise Reed, 5'3", 63-inch reach, 7 wins, 3 losses, 30 years old. Lupo Godinez, she came in, a lot of high hopes, good prospect. There has been a few hiccups on the way. She has been improving her striking. She's definitely got a lot better striking. She's definitely she was wrestle primarily. She was a wrestler primarily, taking people to the ground, but she decided to start striking a lot of times. A lot of times she would, to a lot of bettors' detriment, would not stick to the game plan. So she makes a lot of decisions on the fly and how she feels, and she doesn't really care. I think if she loses, she's just there to put a good performance on, but not necessarily to win, which is good and bad. Bad if you're betting on her. So her fight IQ is questionable, and that's what I have a problem with. Elise Reed, you know what you're going to get. She's got fast hands. She's a good striker. She's had the Achilles heel of being taken down, and I'm sure she's working on it right now. But every time I see her that she's working on it, she just doesn't seem like she can stop it. So that's Lupi's path to victory. We're not sure if she's going to take it. Lupi is a minus 440 favorite. You can't even bet on her anyway. Well, you could, but it's just ridiculous. Lupo Godinez should be able to win this fight. I think they've set her up with Reed because her Achilles heel is wrestling. Lupo Godinez can wrestle. They're almost the same height, almost the same reach, where Lupo Godinez a lot of times is a lot shorter. A fair good amount shorter than somebody. It's not going to be the case for Elise Reed, so it's not going to be a huge advantage in the reach. So Lupo Godinez is going to be the pick on this one. Fairly high degree of confidence. can't really bet it. Can't even put it in the parlay and take a chance because the returns on it are so small. And Lupe Godinez is Mexican. Of course, Roman Kaplev, Josh Graham, nobody's Mexican. No, yeah, sticking with the Mexicans here. All right, main event, main card. Fernando Padilla versus Kyle Nelson. Fernando Padilla, 6'1", 76-inch reach, 15 wins, 4 losses, 26 years old. Kyle Nelson is 5'11", 71-inch reach, 14 wins, 5 losses, 1 draw, 32 years old. Kyle Nelson, you know, he's just the kind of guy that they call him and he comes to fight. Very tough, very durable, very strong. I was really looking to pick Kyle Nelson to upset Fernando Padilla. He's a plus 205 underdog. I was looking for reasons to pick him. And there is a path to victory for Kyle Nelson. Fernando Padilla is tall. He's really lanky. He's got a huge reach. He's good striker. He's good on the ground. He's got good jiu-jitsu. He's well-rounded. But he can get tagged with lefts. Straight lefts, but he eats a lot of punches. You know, that's the problem. He can take it, and he hasn't. I don't think he's been knocked out, but he eats a lot of punches, and he's got a great chin. And here's the thing: I thought Kyle Nelson might have a chance. You know, leg kick, overhand right. This guy has Padilla's got terrible defense for striking, but he is willing to exchange. My only issue is this: Padilla has a high volume. Kyle Nelson has got super low volume, and he always loses decisions because of his volume. Can he take Padilla down? Yes, but Padilla does have a pretty good defense even when he's on the ground. I don't really think Nelson will be able to take him down. I think it's going to be very hard. I think Padilla is going to land a lot of strikes. I think he's still going to outland him and outpoint him with damage. Nelson will be able to take it. This is going to be a 3-round grind. But I got to go with Padilla because of the volume. And that's where I think the difference is going to be. He is the Mexican fighter. They got Kyle Nelson in there. Shorter, less volume. I'm wondering if this is not a gift for him to enter the UFC. So I thought it possible upset, but just can't. Kyle Nelson just doesn't throw enough. You know, he's got to get super lucky. And this other guy is not going to get knocked out with one shot. So, Fernando Padilla will be the pick. Oh, what am I doing? I already flipped it. All right, next fight. Daniel Zellhuber versus Christos Giagos. Daniel Zellhuber, 6'1", 77-inch reach, 13 wins, 1 loss, 24 years old. Christos Giagos, 5'10", 71.5-inch reach, 20 wins, 10 losses, 33 years old. Christos Giagos is in the prime of his career. He had a really good knockout victory of Glenn, but it's a fighter that looked old. If you look at his record, Giagos has lost against all the top guys. He's fought the top guys, got the experience, but he's lost. And all the people he's beat are in the lower end. You don't see him really beating a lot of middle of the road guys. So it's hard to gauge how good is Christos Giagos. You see him, he's built like a tank. He throws big shots. He's got a lot of power. He can take people to the ground, and he looks phenomenal against certain fighters. And then certain fighters, they won't, you know, he can't knock him out. He can't take him to the ground, or he can, but they get back up. And then as the fight goes on, he gasses, and it looks like he doesn't give up, but he's just not as confident as the fight goes on, you know, even though he's trying. Like, it just seems like, you know, he just doesn't have that dog in him where he's going to keep going. So you see him just kind of fade as the fight goes on, and guys just start to dominate and grind him out. Daniel Zellhuber, I mean, he came in with high hopes. He lost against his first fight in the UFC. Looked terrible. He didn't look like he did anything. Everyone's saying it's because he was scared of the takedowns and everything else. I don't know. But he just didn't look good. I mean, he's got pretty good takedown defense. I mean, if he's scared of the takedowns, then Giagos is going to win this fight. But I don't know. I think he just was nervous. It was his first fight. He came back. He won against a lower level guy. We've never seen him against a really upper level guy. Um, so we're going to see him now against a mid level guy, which is like Giagos, which is like low to mid. Um, I like Giagos' power, but I think there's a huge reach advantage, and Daniel Zellhuber's got really good striking, his boxing. He's got a great counter. He's got a good left hand. When guys are coming in, it's fast. People are coming in quick, but he gets that shot out really quick as they're coming in. And I think that's going to be the advantage. Giagos is going to make up difference. He's going to have to get close. He's going to have to throw the big bombs, and Zellhuber's got some fast hands, going to be able to catch him. Zellhuber is very tough, and I've seen him in the Contender Series fight, what's his name, this guy from Brazil who just throws bombs, and he was tagging him, and Zellhuber took it. So he's got a good chin. So I don't know if Giagos can knock this guy out. So nevertheless, if you can't knock him out, he's going to try to take him to the ground. I think that Zellhuber, he's got pretty good takedown defense. I've seen him do it. We'll see. This is going to be a levels fight, right? Is Giagos, can he fight a mid-level guy and win? And can Zellhuber fight a mid-level guy and win? This is what we're going to find out, because we never really seen it from either one of them, because Giagos has fought either the top guys or the bottom guys. Zellhuber is pretty much in the bottom level so far, but he looks like he can move up, and this is going to be his move-up fight. Zellhuber is going to be the pick. Mid-level confidence on this one, just because I don't have a lot of confidence in Giagos. When the going gets tough, he starts to fade. So Zellhuber, on the other hand, besides his first fight, which is like his debut stunt where he comes in and messes it up and gets nervous or whatever, I like what I see from him, right? I think he's going to be pretty good. It'll be a close fight, but I think he's going to win it by points, right? He's going to outstrike Giagos from the outside. Zellhuber's going to be the pick. All right, next fight. Raul Rosas Jr. versus Terrence Mitchell. Raul Rosas Jr., 5'9", 67-inch reach. Set here, sorry. 7 wins, 1 loss, 18 years old. 18 years old. Terrence Mitchell, 5'10", 74-inch reach, 15 wins, 3 losses, 33 years old. Terrence Mitchell was brought in to fight Seaman, the South African fighter, at the last minute. I don't think Terrence Mitchell is really UFC caliber, but they're kind of keeping him in to fight the lower level guys or the entry level guys. And he's got a job, he's fairly durable. He's pretty good. He's tall, lanky, strong, but I haven't seen him really go late. I don't know if he's got great cardio. Raul Rosas is a highly touted prospect. They threw him to Christian Rodriguez, who was, again, a big prospect, and he just went out to finish Christian Rodriguez, and Rodriguez was too good, and he outlasted the first round, and then Raul Rosas blew his load and started fading as the fight went on against a very talented prospect as well. And, of course, he's only 18 years old, right? There's a lot of things he can learn. His body hasn't even finished developed, his strength and everything else. But they're giving him Terrence Mitchell. This is a gimme fight for him. He is going to win this fight. They're giving him this fight to get him better, to get him older, and to build him up in the UFC. Because they've kind of already brought him in. They probably brought him in too early. He should have been fighting at a lower level organization and work his way up. But here he is. So they're going to try and feed him these lower level guys to get the experience. But nevertheless, he's talented. He's really good on the ground. He's got a good gas tank. He learned a valuable lesson last time. He's going to win this fight. High degree of confidence. You can't bet on him. He's minus 800 favorite. It's absolutely ridiculous. So, nevertheless, Raul Rosas is going to be the pick. Moving on, we're making good time. So, Kevin Holland versus Jack Della Maddalena. This is a co-main event. Kevin Holland, 6'3", 81-inch reach, 25 wins, 9 losses, 30 years old. Jack Della Maddalena, 5'11", 73-inch reach, 50 wins, 2 losses, 27 years old. Welterweight. So, Holland is in the right class. Here's the thing. Kevin Holland, I really like Kevin Holland, even though I've slammed him for his fight IQ. He's going to have an advantage on the jiu-jitsu part as far as the chokes go. Kevin Holland's not going to the ground. Jack Della Maddalena, he can wrestle. He can take people to the ground. He's not taking Kevin Holland to the ground because Kevin Holland got some good chokes. right? This is going to be a stand-up fight. Kevin Holland's going to stand. Jack Maddalena is going to stand. This is where it's going to start, and this is where it's going to finish. So people are saying, well, Kevin Holland can choke him out, this and that. Kevin Holland doesn't take people down. Kevin Holland doesn't care. Kevin Holland might end up on the ground, and then he might look for a choke, but he will not take Jack Maddalena down. So Maddalena will probably initiate that takedown, and so far he hasn't been choked out. But it's a danger for him. Maybe he's really confident. Kevin Holland's going to be sniping from the outside, catching him on the way in. Here's the thing. Jack Della Maddalena, I'm really high on him, and he's really hungry, and he's a dog, and he's going to not quit and keep going. And Kevin Holland, he's the same way, but I still see a little more dog and a little more hunger from Della Maddalena, because Della Maddalena still thinks he can be the champion in welterweight. Kevin Holland does not think he's going to be the champion. He's just collecting paychecks, giving good fights, and having a great time. That's not a bad thing. But my whole point is that mentality of Jack Della Maddalena is going to be the edge, because this is going to be a very close fight. Jack Maddalena is going to be pressuring him, trying to get on the inside. Kevin Holland's going to be trying to catch him from the outside. They'll also be clinched up against the fence. Jack Maddalena is going to be grinding him. Kevin Holland's going to be grinding him back. I think Kevin Holland with his back against the fence. But when he's coming in, Jack Maddalena's got a lot of good head movement. He'll be able to avoid enough strikes to cause some damage, but he will not be able to avoid all the strikes. So this is a really close fight. I'm going to pick Jack Della Maddalena, low confidence, because Kevin Holland does have a path to victory. Because I know Jack Della Maddalena wants to be the champ. I actually don't think he can be the champ. I don't think he's good enough to be the champ. I think Kevin Holland is what, number 10 or something like that? Where he's number 10, I think, right? And Maddalena is 15, right? They're right in that range. I actually think this is where Maddalena is going to be. He's going to be right around where Kevin Holland is, like, maybe just breaking the top 10 or just outside the top 10. He might just break into the top 10, but 9 or 10, I just don't see him beating. There's at least 5 guys in there I don't think he can beat. I don't think he can beat him, I think the last time he fought against that wrestler really showed some. I mean, he was, what's his name? The guy they brought in just for this fight. Fiziev? No, not Fiziev. Hafez. Yeah, but the guy was really good actually. But, wrestler, really strong. Took a lot of shots, took Maddalena down. He lost the fight. He should have lost the fight, but I mean, he did take him down quite a few times. He absorbed a lot of damage. But that's the kind of guy that's going to give Maddalena problems. And there's a lot of guys at the top, top 5, 6, 7 that are those type of guys that can do it all. They can fight, they can take you down. So this is, I don't see Della going much further than this anyways. So this is going to be where he's at. So there's going to be a close fight is what I'm saying. These guys are very well matched in a lot of things. So I'm going to pick that lean towards Jack Della Maddalena just because he still thinks he could be the champ. Where Kevin Holland, I think those hopes are gone. Well, not even hopes. He's just in there to make some money, and that doesn't mean he's not going to try. He's still going to put up a great fight. That's why everyone likes watching Kevin Holland. Jack Della Maddalena is going to be the pick. Main event: Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko. Alexa Grasso, 5'5", 66-inch reach, 16 wins, 3 losses, 30 years old. Valentina Shevchenko, 5'5", 66.5-inch reach, 23 wins, 4 losses, 35 years old. Here's the thing: Alexa Grasso beat her, got her in a choke. Valentina Shevchenko, 2 fights ago, I saying that after that one fight with the Brazilian girl, I can't remember. Anyways, people thought she lost, one split decision. I was saying, I said, this, in the next 2-3 fights, in the next 2 years, somebody's going to beat Shevchenko. Somebody up and comer is really good is going to beat her. She's getting up there in age, but she was so much better than everyone else. She set the bar really high. But as time goes on, you find that these other fighters are going to meet the challenge and they increase their game. When she set the bar, they're like, okay, that's where we got to go. And everyone started improving to get to that level. And it's going to take a few years. And plus, she was still young enough to fight back all these contenders. They're getting better by the day, and she's getting older by the day. So I figured like she was going to lose the next 2-3 fights in the next couple of years. I didn't expect it to be Grasso. I got to admit that Grasso improved hugely from the fight I saw her before the championship fight and the championship fight. She improved huge. Now the question is she going to improve even more? And is Valentina Shevchenko going to be able to build up enough fortitude and constitution to push herself to the limit to win this fight? Because as I saw, last fight, Alex Grasso won the first round, but Valentina Shevchenko won the second round, the third round, and she was 20 seconds away from winning the fourth round. And it was because she was taking Grasso down. But she's a champion. She figured out a way of how she can beat Grasso. If she had gotten another 20 seconds and gotten out of that fourth round, she was going to win that fourth round. She would have been up 3 rounds. She just didn't. If she didn't get submitted in the 5th round, she would have won her belt in a close decision. But she made a really bad move, whether she was tired, bad calculation, the fight IQ right there, she slipped maybe because she was tired, like I said. And Grasso totally took advantage of it. And to her credit, man, she definitely getting good at the grappling and the choking. Alexa Grasso is the Mexican fighter too. Here's the thing: is Valentina Shevchenko going to be like Usman, where he was winning the fight and he got head kicked and knocked out and he came back? Everyone's there like, well, Usman should win because he was winning the fight. And he came back, and then Edwards looked even better because he kind of already fought him, kind of felt him, and then managed to improve the areas that he needed to improve on. Is Alexa Grasso going to do that because she knew that the wrestling was where she was going to lose it at? Or is Shevchenko going to come back a little more determined, a little more focused on Grasso? It's harder. It's easy not to focus on someone when you've, beaten everybody and this is another contender after all these years. So maybe she'll refocus and try even harder. So it's a matter of who's going to level up their game, because as it stands, Valentina Shevchenko should win because she was winning the last fight. She just can't make a mistake and letting this girl take her back. So, pick is going to be Shevchenko. Very low confidence pick. You see on the board. Nevertheless, Shevchenko is going to be the pick. Last time I picked Adesanya, and I had 11 fights come through, and the 12th fight lost. So what I'm going to do in my parlay, just so you know, is I'm actually going to pick both fighters. I'm going to run one parlay with Grasso and one with Shevchenko, just because I don't want to be in the same situation as I was last time, where I needed Adesanya to win. I thought he was going to win, and he ended up losing, and my entire parlay was destroyed. And it's just that I want to enjoy that final fight, knowing that if it all hit, that I just have to watch this fight. It'll all work out. Nevertheless, here we go. Most confident to least confident. 60%, minus 800, Rosas. Okay, obviously he's going to win. They set him up to win. They got the guy in there that he can beat. Knudsen. They've got a terrible fighter up against her. It's not even that they're so great, that the fighters they're fighting with are terrible. So these guys are going to win their fights. Minus 800, minus 700. You can't even bet on them. Kapilov. He's a great fighter. He's still improving. He's going to be able to go through Frem. Not easily, just because of the size, and Frem is talented. But he's only at a minus 330. I put here bet because, literally you could put him in a parlay. Well, these guys you can't even put in a parlay. And if something goes wrong, you're just going to lose it for a minimum amount of money. So it doesn't matter. Godinez, You know, minus 440 again. Can you really use her? I don't know. She's getting to the point where it's actually too much. Normally I run my parlay like maybe up to here where I drew these lines and then I'll break it up. Again, you can do it any which way you like. Godinez minus 440, probably unplayable. Campbell minus 480 against the guy we don't even know about. And granted, he's supposed to beat him, but we haven't seen the guy in 6 years. For all you know, he's sensational. Can't play it. Minus 480. And Zellhuber minus 250. I think he's going to win this fight. You know, medium confidence. Padilla, medium confidence. Again, we get the lower level confidence. Cortez, JDM. I got Holland here as, you know, like, I mean, I wouldn't hate anyone for picking Holland. These are my top picks are up on this line. Here, I'm pointing out the fact that these guys are going to be so close in these fights that, hey, you could disagree with me, and I wouldn't disagree with your disagreement. Let's put it that way. So these are going to be my primary bets. This is my secondary bets. What I'm going to do here is Shevchenko and Grasso. I'm going to pick each of them in one of my parlays, just in case it hits, then I can enjoy the fights. Lacerda, I want to pick Lacerda, but I will have a pick with Charez in it. This is my absolute least confidence pick. There's only one way for him to win in the first round. I have a feeling he's going to do it this time, but nevertheless, Charez is tough. If he gets to the first round, he's going to win this fight. He's going to be done. So JDM, leaning towards him. If you picked Holland, you know, man, it's going to be that close. You don't know. But the rest of the fights is pretty much the way it is. Again, not financial advice. Play and bet only what you can afford to lose. And take this for whatever bets you want, whether individual bets or in groups of bets or parlays. You know, you can take sections of it. Take the ones you agree with. If you really disagree with something, then change it up. You know, everyone makes mistakes, fights. You never know what will really happen, right? Nevertheless, bet online 50% deposit match. I got a link in the description. Buy me a coffee if you like the content and if you want some money. Last time especially. Thank you very much for joining me today. Hit the like button. It would help. If you want to subscribe, please hit the subscribe button. If you want to get notifications, you can put notifications when you subscribe or no notifications. Like and share the video. If you could share this video, that helps out huge in the algorithm. Please comment. You know, I want to hear your opinions. Everyone's got a valid point. I mean, nobody knows everything. So please comment below. If you win any money, comment below and let me know. I'd love to hear it. You know, I love to hearing people winning money with my picks. That's what I'm here for. Makes me happy. Keeps me motivated. All right, guys. Thank you very much. We'll see you guys next week for the recap. And hopefully this time we nail it. All of it.